I hit the floor hard. My hip screamed. The room didn't. 23 relatives stared without moving. Not one hand reached for me, not even my mother's. My father, Frank, just sighed. He said I was blocking his real daughter's seat. Brittany smirked behind her shopping bags. My dress tore. Cranberry sauce bled across the carpet. The silence felt colder than the floor. I'm Simona Cunningham. I'm 29, and this was the night my family showed me everything. I thought I'd reached rock bottom. But rock bottom has a basement, and my family built it for me. They didn't know the girl on the floor wasn't staying down. Before we go on, tell me where you're watching from, and one detail about your setup, sofa, kitchen counter, or wherever you're listening from tonight. Echoes of Life loves knowing where our stories find you. Frank didn't become a monster overnight. He built it slowly. One comment, one rule, one humiliation at a time. Brittany arrived when I was 19. New sister, new chaos, new hierarchy carved overnight. Dad framed her graduation photos. Mine stayed in a drawer. He called her gifted. He called me the practical one. Brittany got a car at 18. A white Honda. With a bow. Dad filmed the whole thing. I got a bus pass. And a lecture on resilience. College was worse. Grandpa had left funds for me. I'd seen the statements. I'd seen my name. But when I tried accessing them, Dad shrugged casually. Markets crash, sweetheart. Yet somehow Brittany's art school got paid. $60,000. All for a degree she abandoned. I started noticing patterns. Dad blamed me for everything. Praised Brittany for breathing. He called her future leadership. Called me background support. He took over Grandpa's company. Said it needed fresh blood. But the books changed overnight. Inventory vanished. Accounts shifted. Numbers twisted into shapes that smelled wrong. Grandma noticed too. She'd whisper questions at holidays. Does that seem right to you? Her eyes held warnings. Warnings I wasn't ready to face. Then Thanksgiving happened. Dad toasted Brittany's business ventures. All failures. All funded with company money. I asked one question. One gentle question. Dad slammed his glass down. Told me to stay in my lane. Everyone laughed awkwardly. Except Grandma. She watched Dad like he was unraveling. For 10 years I swallowed everything. The favoritism. The lies. The missing accounts. The sudden mortgages. The quiet shifting of power. And then Christmas Eve arrived. Dad crossed a line. And this time, I wasn't looking away. Because pain loses power once you name its pattern. I sat on my floor that night. Ice on my hip. Fire in my chest. The apartment felt too quiet. Too clean. Too far from the chaos I'd escaped. Grandma's USB sat on my table. I'd avoided it for months. Tonight it felt radioactive. I opened Grandpa's old laptop. The one Grandma slipped me secretly. My hands shook. I typed his usual password. My birthday. It unlocked instantly. Folders appeared like ghosts. Labeled carefully. Labeled deliberately. Insurance. Company transfers. Will, original. And one more. If something happens. My stomach dropped. I clicked the will first. It wasn't the version Dad showed. Not even close. Grandpa left the company to me. Not to Dad. Not to Brittany. Locked in trust until I turned 30. Or until fraud was proven. Whichever came first. My breath caught. The house was protected too. Untouchable. Unless someone forged paperwork. Someone like Dad. Next, I opened the If Something Happens folder. Emails spilled across the screen. 15 years of warnings. Grandpa suspected Dad early. He noticed money missing. He noticed lies spreading. He'd contacted investigators quietly. He'd documented everything. Then I opened the phone photos. Dad's phone had been careless earlier. Unlocked. Face up. Begging to be read. I'd snapped everything fast. Messages to someone named Carl. Inventory moved illegally. Accounts hidden offshore. Brittany funded through company advances. Loans stacked against Grandpa's assets. Fraud. Clear. Blatant. Documented in Dad's own words. I leaned back slowly. My pulse steadying. My fear shifting. Transforming. Becoming something colder. Sharper. Purposeful. I spent 2 hours organizing files. Screenshots. Emails. Statements. Every document labeled. Every timeline aligned. Compliance training finally paid off. Just not for the corporation I worked for. At 2:12 a.m. I opened a new folder. Named it Restoration. Not revenge. Not punishment. Just truth. Truth Grandpa preserved. Truth Dad buried. Truth ready to breathe again. I drafted emails carefully. One for the IRS tip line. One for state investigators. One for Grandpa's old attorney. One for key board members. One for Mom. With the real will attached. No commentary. No emotion. Just facts. Let the truth speak. Then I scheduled them. All for 3 a.m. A clean hour. A quiet hour. A perfect hour for systems to shift. I closed the laptop gently, not shaking anymore, not small anymore. Dad thought he'd pushed me down. He didn't know he'd activated Grandpa's final plan. Because the moment you stop begging for respect, you start building consequences. If this were your family, what would you do? Comment 1 to stay silent and keep the peace. Comment 2 to expose the truth. Even if the whole house shakes, echoes of life is listening. The first blow didn't come from Dad. It came from the internet. Uncle Ted's video spread overnight. Not as a joke, as evidence. People saw him yank my chair. People saw me fall hard. People saw the silence. Comments flooded instantly. Most weren't kind to him. But Dad wasn't worried. He had a counterattack. At 7 a.m. my doorbell rang. Sharp, confident, predictable. A lawyer stood there. Silver hair, perfect suit, a grin too polished. Delivery for Ms. Cunningham. Dad was suing me. $2 million. Corporate espionage. Defamation. Emotional distress. I almost laughed. My hip still bruised. He accused me of stealing data, of manipulating evidence, of staging a vendetta. He'd even hired old coworkers. One's fired for fraud. They claimed I bragged about destroying him. Brittany escalated further. She arrived with cameras. A filmmaker named Chad. She fake cried in my hallway. Said I envied her life. Said I fabricated everything. Said I attacked Dad first. Her voice shook dramatically. Her mascara didn't. Dad hired a PR team. Or rather, one guy named Doug. From his mother's basement. Shockingly effective. They edited Ted's video. Made it look staged. Made me look unhinged. The hashtag falsely accused trended. Strangers threatened me online. My company panicked fast. Placed me on leave. Pending investigation, they said. Then Mom called. Her voice trembling. Frank showed me documents. Simona, did you plant evidence? That one hurt. More than the fall. For a moment, fear returned. Brief. Sharp. But brief. Because everything Dad built was about to collapse. The first crack came at noon. Doug's mother recognized Frank. Not from TV. From Phoenix Book Club, where Frank used another name. And scammed 6 widows. She reported him instantly. Then called her friends. All 14 of them. The second crack came fast. My ex-coworkers flipped. FBI had visited. Lying in federal cases is risky. They confessed everything. Said Frank bribed them. Then Dorothy called. Paralegal from Dad's lawyer. Quiet. Polite. Deadly. She'd recorded everything. Legally. Ours is a one-party state. She had 6 hours of meetings. Bribes. Plots. Fabrications. Plans for Dad to flee. To Costa Rica. With company money. She walked into the DA's office. Left with applause. Then the final strike hit. Not from me. From Grandpa. His If Something Happens folder opened fully. A video appeared. Recorded weeks before death. He warned me gently. Said he'd tracked Dad's schemes. Said an FBI agent was inside already. Said a trust would protect me. Said Dad's downfall was predictable. And preventable. For you, he whispered. My granddaughter. My heir. I closed the laptop slowly. Breathing steady. Heart calm. Dad wasn't in control anymore. The truth was, and nothing fights harder than truth that's been buried too long. The morning after the arrests, the house felt strangely hollow. Not quiet, just emptied of authority. For the first time in years, the air didn't tilt toward Dad's shadow. I sat at Grandpa's table, laptop open, papers spread like battle plans. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like alignment. Like the floor was finally leveling beneath my feet. The hearing was moved up. Too much evidence. Too many alarms triggered at once. Agents, auditors, and attorneys filled the hallway like a corridor of consequences. When Dad walked in wearing the county-issued sweater, something in me steadied. He searched the room as if looking for an exit made of sympathy. He didn't find one. Judge Hawkins entered with the calm of someone who'd seen every kind of lie. She asked counsel to begin. And suddenly the story I'd carried alone was no longer mine to tell. Agent Chen took the stand first. No disguise, no soft tone. 3 years of undercover work poured out in precise, quiet lines. Emails, transfers, forged forms. Nights cataloged in cold detail. Dad blinked fast, like truth was too bright to look at. Then Dorothy, the paralegal he never remembered learning the name of. She unfolded a binder thicker than the family Bible. Recordings, transcripts, strategy notes. Every whisper he thought was private. Her voice didn't shake once. It didn't need to. Next came the widows. 14 women with steady spines and grief-shaped dignity. Each told a different story that somehow sounded the same. Dad's charm. Dad's promises. Dad's disappearance. Dad's cost. Pearls and steady hands, an army he never expected to face. Mom testified last. She didn't cry. She didn't tremble. She spoke like she'd finally stepped outside a fog. I chose silence, she said softly. I won't choose it again. It was the bravest sentence I'd ever heard from her. When the judge called my name, the room shifted. Not toward pity, toward recognition. I walked forward with Grandpa's folder held against my chest. For years, it had felt too heavy. Today, it felt like proof of who raised me. I explained the ledgers, the missing accounts, the trust details. I showed how long the pattern had been growing. I showed how many hands it had touched. And for the first time, my voice didn't fold in on itself. Dad didn't look at me. Not once. Maybe he finally understood the cost of believing the quiet daughter would stay quiet forever. The judge issued the freeze orders. Every asset locked. Every title paused. Every route of escape sealed. A balance restored, not through rage, but through record-keeping. And when I walked out of that courtroom, it wasn't victory I felt. It was gravity finally letting me stand my full height. The new year arrived quietly. No sirens. No shouting. Just a morning that didn't belong to fear anymore. The trust activated at midnight. Exactly the way Grandpa designed it. The business reverted to my name. The house too. Paperwork finally aligned with truth. And truth felt sturdier than I remembered. Mom started therapy the next week. Real therapy. Not the kind she used to do to look stable. She moved back into her old routines slowly. Cooking. Reading. Asking questions instead of avoiding them. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She earned space to grow into it. Brittany strangely softened. Probation and public service humbled her in ways no lecture ever could. Her apologies came awkwardly but honestly. We're not close, but we're no longer enemies in the same house. Dad stayed where he belonged, behind locked doors and federal hours. 25 years. No possibility of early release. He still writes letters. I don't open them. Some endings aren't meant to be rewritten. I rebuilt the company in quiet, intentional steps. Profit sharing. Transparency. People first rules. The kind of foundation Grandpa dreamed of, but never got to see. And somewhere along the way, I realized something simple. Justice didn't give me my life back. It just cleared the noise so I could finally hear myself again. For the first time, silence felt like a friend, not a threat. Last Christmas, I hit the floor. This year, I set the table. My seat had a small brass plaque engraved with 2 words Grandpa always told me. Stand tall. And for the first time, I did. If this story touched you, tap like, share it with someone who's learning to stand again, and subscribe to Echoes of Life for the next quiet, powerful story.